Good morning, class. Today we will see the OS level support and also the middle level support of the virtualization, and also we will see some of the tools which we are using for the virtualization. So here we also going to see an example. In yesterday's class I shown that vCUDA is the one of the example which is supporting the virtualization concept. So we are covering that example also. Along with the thing, we are taking two things, that is the two tools which are supporting virtualization. The first one is the hypervisor, and the next one is the Xen architecture, which is used for the Linux environment. And also in previous class we have seen binary translations has been. So what are the binary translations we are using, how it is performing, and it is used for the full virtualization, and how it is. There you follow the two types of virtualization. One is full virtualization and host based virtualization. We will cover these things in this session. So coming to the first one, OS level virtualization. In yesterday's class, we have seen levels of the virtualization. In this levels of the virtualization, from underneath, that is a between. The between level of the these virtualization is the operating system level virtualization. What it is doing here, what it is providing is, it is nothing but it's a abstraction layer which is used between the traditional operating system and user applications what you are providing. So sometimes we are also using containers, and also we are allocating the resources to the different uh, users which like to take these things and to get the benefits of that one. So we may take the different host or the separate host to take the services into an account. So that is the operating system level which has been discussed in yesterday's class. In this one, how this virtualization is supported at this operating system level has to be considered. So first what you have to do is nothing but why this computing mode is emerging here is the virtual machine technology or the virtualization technology what we are has been discussed earlier supports a new computing mode which is known as a cloud computing. So what the cloud computing doing here? So here it is performing a transformation, that is it is allowing an user or any organization to take the benefits of their resources without owning them. So it is transforming the computing landscape by shifting this hardware and the staffing cost by managing the computational centers to the third parties. It is not maintaining, it is not giving the opportunity to purchase the things and install the things at our end. What it is doing is, it is allowing the user or the organization to take the advantage of the resources without installing them or purchasing them forever. So it is just providing the services there. How it is providing the services means, it is taking an account of the, it is dividing the services, means all the services not grouped or packed into one thing. What they are doing is, they are being divided into the based on the service, on the criteria. So if we want to this criteria of the service, you have to avail this service for subscribing all these things. So likewise, what it has to do is nothing but the cloud computing changed the computation of your things. If you want to write a program, or if you want to execute that program in traditional way, what we need to do, we need to take the what is the programming environment you are choosing. This programming environment has to be installed, has to be with you. But here what it is providing is, not all the time what you are choosing or what you are going to access has not to be with you. What it is doing, it is providing is means an environment to take the advantage of all these things without purchasing these resources. So that's why the cloud computing has changed the computations when compared with the traditional operating system. When we talk with this cloud computing, it has to consider two challenges while processing. So what are the two challenges here are, the first one is it must be able to use variable number of physical machines and virtual machine instances, because we may not decide that the problem for all the situations will be the same. For example, why so means one task will be computed on a single processor, and other task may take multiple processes into an account. Other task will take hundreds of processes has to be added into an account. So some may use different operating systems or different anything. Anything will be possible here. So that's why what is the cloud computing has to do here is it has the ability, it must have the ability to provide the physical machines and these instances whenever you are dealing with a problem with a that is a different problem, means it is having the more computations to be done. That is here an example here is the a task may need only a single CPU during some phases of execution, but may need hundreds of CPUs at other times. We can't say that at all these programs what you are specifying will run at the same time, will follow the only the methodology what you are specifying, because the whenever your problem specification or the program notation has been changing, they're also developing methods and the next execution methods also will change. So based on the environment, we need to add the resources to your cloud. And then second one here we are mentioning here is where you are providing there is the slow operation has been initiated at the virtual machines here. Why so we are specifying, why so we are facing that problem? Instantiating is means in PPL we also seen that is what you have to do is nothing but we need to take the instantiation of your system to process that. So to instantiate it takes a little bit time, because why it is taking that much time here is we have to take the virtual machines into an account, that is what is your host operating system, what is the guest operating system, and what is the application you are using, whether the application what you are using is means applicable to these new virtual machine or not. All these things we have to change. So for that what you have to do is nothing but we need to maintain a template here. Template means in previous session as have been seen that SSI, single system image is there. What the SSI is doing is it is providing the information about that system and what can it handles, like that what is the memory spaces and what are the virtualizations it is supporting. All these things has been added there. So first we need to know what is the template of your virtual machine, means what it is we should know before processing. If not, it is like processing, what it is doing here is we need to take that, we need to go for the application and then we need to go for the virtual machine, and we need to provide an environment to execute. Unknowingly you are doing all these things. If you are not knowing that the environment is suitable for your application, then you will face a problem, that is we need to know all these things earlier. So for that way what it has to do is nothing but whether the application or a virtual machine or a host operating system or anything, any device, any resource what you are providing to compute in our environment, what you have to do, we need to maintain a template for that one. What is the template here is what it is specifying, what it is for has to be used here. So this makes the OS level, virtualization to come into an account. And also we are providing some reasons why we need to take this OS level virtualization, because we are having hardware level virtualization there. Why we need to provide all these things here? Because there are some disadvantages with this hardware level virtualization. That is likewise, I said each virtual machine has to create its own image from the beginning. If it is not like that, what it has to do, it has to take the initiations here. So to overcome this thing, we need to consider the voice level virtualization, and then redundancy of the contents has been maintained, performance and the density which is also slow, and then next the modifications what you are doing has may be needed. Why we need to modify these hardware means all the applications won't support your things. If you want to take your environment to be flexible, or if you want to take your environment to be runnable on any application, what you have to do is that, but continuously you need to change your hardware representations of your computer. So to overcome all these disadvantages, what we are taking these operating systems level virtualization into an account. How we are providing? How we are providing this virtualization here is, we need to insert a virtualization layer inside an operating system, because we need to partition the machine's physical resources. Because why so means, if you are giving the same memory space and then same things to all guest operating systems, means there will be flooding, or the traffic, or the loading of your memory, that is data, will be very low. What you have to do is nothing but you should know what are the physical resources you are having, and you have to divide, that is you need to partition all these things here. So how we are going to do here is, here this is a highlighted one schema. We are maintaining a open virtualization layer, and it is also having the open virtualization template, because for every virtualization private server or private anything what it is doing, need to maintain what is this is for what this one is maintaining this templates of these two. In this example here, in this open virtualization layer, what it will do, what the thing it is going to perform here is, it will create a virtual execution environment, and then next it is also creating virtual private systems, or also you can specify them. In previous sessions we have seen containers. Simply they are creating the container environment to execute all these things into one, because we are not maintaining operating systems in here, because it is providing application software, what are the users and what is the root one, it is just providing this one. And what is the operating system we are using, it is has not been mentioned this one. Why so here is, it is following the container one. So what is the container here is, apart from maintaining many operating systems into an account, what we are doing, we are taking the privilege to only maintaining the host operating system, and also taking care of these applications which has been accessed from the different one. The container what you are using, the container engine will take care of all these things. So the container engine what you are working, or the what it is has the capability which is equivalent to these open virtualization layer here. So here what it will do, or what it will maintain here is, when we are executing, when you are executing, that is virtual execution environment is there. What it will do here is, it will have its set of processors, and while processing we need the files there, and then next we also need to access the network interfaces, to transfer the data we have the routings, and for that which we need to maintain the routing tables, and then any user accounts what it is having, all these things, whatever the things we are taking under account when you are means executing on your host system, all the things has to be given to this virtual private server 1 and then virtual private server 2 individually. So here what could be the advantage here is, they are having their own processors, they are having their own memories, files, and all these things. So whenever they are having their own things, there is no need to load the data from the host whenever they need it. So these mapping things what you are doing, that is a virtual mappings what you are doing, is taking lots of the time. So to overcome this virtual mappings, what they are doing, they are taking into an account that each and everything what they are providing must have its own set of things to compute. So for this thing, what they are doing is, they are creating their own things to be done. So that's why they are maintaining the single operating system image for the virtualization. So here what it is, a single operating system image here is, what are the operating systems we are using and how it is going to process, all these things we need to create. So here, based on your operating system means, or your hardware nodes, it will change. I am mentioning only the, here you will see now I just mentioned #1. I'm not giving physical server, that's all. I'm not giving the name it as a physical server. What I am giving is a physical server, which is the hardware node. I just switch the hash one, and it is the first template or the first thing what you are using. And you are going to use the many things on your, means many operating systems or images to create an environment here. There is a possibility of maintaining multiple single operating system images here. So how we are going to given the naming here is, this one image is given as a hash one, and the backside of one and the backside of one, like that, means in the cascading form you are getting the information here, that is second node, third node, fourth node. Whenever the node is changing, the possibility of the environment what you are executing will change simultaneously. If you are maintaining the same environment for the 4 nodes, it's a very foolish thing. What we need to do, we need to take the different environments into an account to process. So for this one, the open virtualization what you are taking in this operating system will provide multiple operating system images for you, and also create the virtual machines quickly by using this type of open virtualization layer, including in the host operating system. So when you are trying to access another one, just you will take in the cascading form, and then next you go for choosing this thing. Although we are having this type of the representation, will be some advantages and the disadvantages also. So first we will see what are the advantages of the OS extensions. So here the benefits will be considered as a twofold. So the first one will be, that is if you are maintaining the virtual machines at the operating system level, what it is specifying, there is the time taken for these one, and then next the cost what you are specifying, the requirements what you are choosing, and then the scalability factor what it is affecting when compared with the hardware level, it is low. That is, it is having the some minimal effect. And then next, coming to the second one, if you are going for the OS level virtualization machine, what you need to do, there is a possibility of virtualization machine, and it also provides the host environment to synchronize, and then next it can change the states of the programming or the state of the methodologies whenever it is necessary. So have to things, all these things into consideration. To achieve these twofold, means to achieve these things, what we have to do is nothing but we need to consider two mechanisms there. So you know what are the mechanisms, what you are specifying here is these OS level virtual machines will be on the same physical machines, but they will share the single operating system kernel only. And then second one, what it is a design in such a way that it will provide the elements to the processors to access these virtual machines, and also the resources what it is providing from the host machine as much as possible, but they don't have the opportunity to modify all these things. So that is, these are the things we need to keep into the consideration when you means when yesterday I said there you should specify, you should mention the privileges there. So why we need to take the privileges? You are allowing another system or the another environment to access your environment. So we need to decide at what cost or from means how far you are going to allow all these things. So we need to provide there must be a specification. You need to allow all these things up to some extent only, or you need to give it the privileging that you need not to change all these things, or you just have the action of accessing memory spaces, like that we need to consider. So another case what it is you are providing, that is likewise in this container it is providing its own environment here. What is the own environment means? It's operating system, it's files, all these things. Whenever whatever we are using, whatever we are providing in this container, in computing environment, we need to give to this one. So these are the advantages of OS extension. Likewise, we will get the disadvantages also. So here, these are the things. Disadvantages of the OS extension has to be considered. So the main disadvantages of this thing here is we need to maintain a single system image here. Means unintentionally we have to give whether these things, whatever you are saying, will behave like a one, like that we need to take. So there are they must have the same kind of operating system, guest operating system what you are using there. So if you are supporting different operating system levels virtualization also, what it has to do is nothing but they must pretend. Pretend means what it is not act like that, that is it is not really it is like that. What it is acting like same operating system family. So here I'm taking an example that here we are providing an operating system which is Windows, and that is some also prefer the Linux for other operating systems. So if Windows, what it is doing, such as the Windows XP, cannot run on the Linux-based systems. What we will do, if we are providing all these things as the same thing, what it is not allowing the virtualization, same environment, same operating system levels to process. So what it is doing to here is we need to run this OS level virtualization. We need to isolate all these execution environments that it is given to basic one, means no need to take the execution into your account. The host operating system no need to think of the execution environment. What we have to do, we have to give the execution to their own guest operating system. If you are thinking to take care of all these things, then there is no need to give go and access the another operating system there, because you are taking care of all these things, and you are allowing another operating system also. Some of the things are not means flexible to access. So that's why what you are getting, they are getting some disadvantages like that. You know, there is also you are not providing the environment which is suitable for you. And we are having one example also, that is a chroot command is there. So what the chroot command will do here is it is creating virtual methods there. If you remember, that is Unix. In this Unix, you have the chmod, and then next ch group. After that, you are having that is change execution permissions. All this will be there now. I think you didn't forget all these things. So likewise, we are having the change root command. This change root command, what will do? It will create the virtual roots in the Unix environment. By using this virtual directories, what these root directories will be doing is, it is creating the virtual machines environment, that is virtual machine root environment, to access many things, and then like that it is providing. So how it is going to give, you may have these questions, how it is going to perform is, how we are going to change the owner of the file, means when you are change owner, ch1, how we are going to change, we are copying the file, and then next we are giving, we are placing in this that one. What the disadvantage there, what you have disadvantage here is, we are maintaining the multiple copies of the same file in a same, means in the same server. It is space, that is what you are using, the storage issues will be there, because whenever you are changing the owners of a file, what it is doing, it is copying like this. What it is mentioning here is, if you are doing like this, means you are wasting your memory space. So the likewise, what you are doing is, we are duplicating the common resources. So if you are doing these duplication, means what you are providing here is, we are providing usage of the memory spaces, and also the network connections, or anything, any representations which are affecting this one will be wasted. Likewise, we are having another one is, try to share these resources with the host environment, and it is also creating the private resources copies on that one. Means we need to take the sharing into an account. For an example, when the file is created, what you are doing is, you are providing sharing to that one, who will access this one. So we are placing this one into the shared environment. So sometimes when you are downloading the files from the shared, means whenever a file has been shared, you will go for that system, and or you will go for the shared documents there itself. So it will try to access, or it will try to give the specification there. So here, however, we are taking all these things, the benefits of the these OS level virtualization will be that is affect the hardware virtualization usage. But when you are taking the virtualization into your account, first we will choose the hardware virtualization, and then we will go for the second one, that is the OS level virtualization. So after that, we are having the next one, virtualization or the Linux and Windows platform. How we are providing, or how we are giving of this one. So the Linux kernel, what you know that kernel, what is the kernel is specified as a heart of the operating system. What you are using Linux. So what it is using, it is acts as an abstraction layer which allows these software process to execute, and then next it also gives the resource sharing, and also any type of the sharing, any resource sharing. Then what is the thing it is affecting, or what is the thing it is different is, there is no need to know about the hardware details of your system. You are came into that environment, the kernel will give the access to that one, but it is not even ask the what is the hardware environment where you connected to this one. All these things will not be considered. So likewise we are having these virtualization support information. So what are the virtualization systems we are having for Linux and the Windows NT platforms? The first one is the Windows Linux virtual server, which is for the Linux platforms. So there are the if you want to know the further information, there has been placed the link. If you go for that link, they will give this. Will have the information to process. So what will this do? So this will extend to implement the security mechanisms, which helps to build these virtual machines by setting the limitations to the resource sharing, and also giving the file attributes, and then it also allows to change the roots, which makes these virtual machines environments isolation. Next one, open virtualization. This open virtualization is also for the Linux platforms. What it does here is, above it is not providing the private servers or the private environment, but here it is providing the private servers environment, which is also known as VPSs. So what it is doing, this private environment will allow an user not to depend upon the host operating system. By using this thing, it will have its own files, own set of users, because it is a server now. So it is having own set of the users, virtual devices, or any migrations, or anything which is used for the computations will be at this end. That is a private end. And coming to the last one, featherweight virtual machine. What is a featherweight? Means it's a lightweight. There will be no that is more work on that one. So here what it is doing here is also it is providing the virtualizing environment for the Windows NT platforms. So here what it is doing, or what it is providing, so this to support all these virtualizations or the things into an account, the FVM what you are using here is, it is providing call interfaces to create the virtual machines. Here we are not allowing any guest operating system or anything. What you have to do to connect to any environment, we need to place a call interface, which will take to you to the kernel space, and it is also allowing to create the multiple virtual machines, which will support these namespaces, and also the there is a mechanism called the COW, copy on write. In the further classes, we will talk more about this COW. Copy on write means we will copy the things and then place all these things into that one. That is through on the Linux servers, or you can place it on these any servers what you are using. So after that, we are having next one, middleware support. So how we are going to provide the middleware support here is, so we need to take the in this one library level virtualization into an account, because we are talking about these middleware means we need to take the library files only into an account, because it uses the library files and creates an environment, or creates a deployment model which is used for your runnable environment, which is not with you. So here this type of virtualization what you are using is known as a application binary interface, which is a user level. In fact what it is specified as the ABI. That is what you are using here is the application binary interface, which is also specified as a API emulation. So what are these things we are having? How many types of the middleware or the support for the virtualizations we have these things. So first one is the WABI. WABI means, you know, the ABI stands for application binary interface. What is a WABI means? Windows application binary interface. So this one what you are using here is it is converts these system calls what you are placing through the Windows 1 to these running on the x86 process to the Solaris. Means you don't need to install all these things into your account. What you are doing, you need to place a system call. The system call what has been placed on the Windows will be running on the system that is in the Intel 86 PC will run on the Solaris system, because it converts the system call of the Windows into the system that is a call of the Solaris here. And coming to the next one, LX1. So that is Linux one. What it is specifying here is it enables what you are using the applications which are based on the Linux to run on the Unix systems and also the open service. So here there is a slight difference between the Unix and the Linux. So that's why the applications what you are designed for the Linux environment will allow you to access or to run on the environment which is the Unix based one, and also sometimes we can use the open server there. And then next third one is the Wine. What it is specifying is it is a library support which is providing for virtualizing the processors, that is Intel 86 processors, to run their applications, that is a Windows applications which are under Windows can have the capability to run on Linux, FreeBSD or the Solaris or anything like that. It is specifying. And then next to Visual Main Win. So this is the compiler support one. What it is doing is it is providing an environment to develop the Windows applications which has been developed on the Windows using Visual Studio, and they can run these things on Solaris, Linux and the next host system. So what it is providing, you can develop on the Windows environment or you can run on the any environment there. And the last one we are having the vCUDA. So here vCUDA is nothing but it's a programming model you are using in GPU. So what it is doing here is it is having virtualization support here. So what it is also providing here is it is giving the general purpose graphic processing units to run parallel processing, that is it is taking the special guest operating system and account. So here we are having the explanation, that is the representation, the architecture of this vCUDA. So what is the CUDA means here, you know, why we are using the CUDA and where you are using all these things into specification means CUDA is specified as a compute unified device architecture. So what it is a single core. When you are talking about the GPU, each and every thing or each and every has this mainly 16 individual processors in a set. So these 16 individual processors are specified as a 16 individual cores. We are seeing the architecture of a one CUDA core, which is the virtual one. Because in the previous one, in the previous unit, we have seen CUDA core, which is having only a dispatcher, and then next it will have the operand collector also, and it has the functional processing unit and the initialization unit there. Whatever the results will be given to the queue, but it is not having any virtualization here. Here we are seeing the CUDA here. So what CUDA means, we are specifying the a core which is processing under the graphical processing unit here. So here what it is doing, what is the vCUDA is it is virtualizing the CUDA library. What is the library we are using in this CUDA, and can be installed any guest operating systems here. Means whatever you are using the library in this CUDA here will be installed on these. This one is a host operating system, and here it can be installed on the guest operating system right itself. Why? Because means there is no need to place the calls to take the access of this library is there. What we have to do is nothing but we are giving the accessibility of this library to that GPU, so that to this guest operating system. And also what it is doing is it is implementing the that is 3 user space components like vCUDA library, a virtual GPU in the guest operating system, and vCUDA stub is there. And vCUDA stub in the host operating system, you are seeing that one. You know, operating system it is providing. So here what you are using this virtual GPU is will act as a client, and this vCUDA stub will act as a server. So here what this vCUDA library doing here is which is resides in this guest operating system, like that is which is the substitution of the CUDA library. will take the responsibilities of the general library only. So what is the responsibility of the library here? If any call has been placed, it will intercept the call, and means it will wait to know the what is the call has been placed, what is the thing I have to perform, and redirect these calls to these that is a client to server. Means it is the has the capability to take the calls here, but what it has to execute this thing, or it has to the thing what it is doing, it is allowing the host operating system to access this one. So it is also allowing to take these things to be happen, that is a it can abstract these structures and give the applications to done on these underlying hardware what you are using, that is a GPU, hard disk, network card what you are mentioning. And also it also provide when any application has been means developing, or any application has been processed, what it has to do is nothing but we need to take these things to into the memory space, because it is not having its own memory space. It is having only the application and what are the library files it is having. But to store these things what it is processing, to store it has to go for these hard disk here. So whenever we are having the API for these guest operating system, it will redirect from here to here stop, and it will allow to access the library and execute this one from the device driver, where it will connect to the hard disk, and then next it will store the data into the that is the host operating system memory space what you are having there. So the CUDA stub what you are using will receive and interprets the remote requests which has been which has been raised by the guest operating systems thing. So what are the things, another things can VCUDA stub also do here is, there are the physical resources are there, means the physical resources are these things. So the physical resources can be also managed, means what are the spaces I need to allocate, what are the things I need to allocate, how these things has to be put into account when you are dealing with the stuff. So here what it is specifies, or what it does here is, we are having an environment, CUDA environment. In this CUDA environment we will have the CUDA application, CUDA library, and the device driver on this one. Only this part of the thing is as considered, and you are allowing another guest operating, another one to access that one. So what it is doing, it is trying to execute the CUDA application here, and you may not have the guest operating system may not have the library files which are used for the CUDA application. So for that what it is providing, and a copy of the library to this one. So that is a virtual CUDA library. What it is doing, it is completely giving the library files of this one to this one. So if you want to access, if you want to store where any process, you can do. Whenever it is placing any API, then only it will go for the stuff. Whenever it is placing API only, whenever then it will go for the step, not all the time. It will try to execute on itself only. So here vGPU and the vCUDA step will act as a server and client here. The client will request for some server, and then the server will place the call and then execute all these things, and these things which has been processed will be stored into that one. So if for example the processor thing has to be stored on the memory space, so it is not having its memory space, what it will do, it will raise a call. What is the call it has been given here is, so take this into an account and process all these things. Likewise it will specify. So this is about your vCUDA. There is an example here, and then next we have the tools. So what are the tools? There is a virtualization structures, or the tools or the mechanisms. What will be how in that first one is the hypervisor and Xen architecture. You well know what is a hypervisor. In simple form, how we what we specify hypervisor here is it's just a using that is a virtual machine monitor, VMM. It just like acts as a virtual machine monitor. Instead of that, what is a hypervisor is, it supports hardware level in virtualization, and also take these resources what you are having, that is could be shared. So what could be the resources here? It will share here is the hardware, the hypervisor that will take the operating system and account. So what it will take here is, it will share the CPU and the next memory spaces and the next disk and the next interfaces of this hardware to be equally given to this multiple operating system here. So before going to these Xen architecture or any hypervisor into an account, we need to know some important aspects here. So what are these important aspects specified here is, the first one here is the hypercall. You know, in previous session we have seen one example how these guest operating system is executing. To execute or to process anything, the guest operating system has to place a call to the hypervisor, which is specified as a hypercall. These hypercall, what we are using is a software trap which has been which has been caused from domain to the hypervisor. Domain means what is the guest operating system we are using, or what are the network systems we are using will be specified as a domain here. So what is a hypercall is we need to specify that it is a software trap which has been from that is a domain to the hypervisor there. So whenever this call has been placed, what you have to do, it has to use this call and take these operations which has been requested, and what it is doing, it is going to take into the. If you remember previous example, previous thing, there is an diagram. In this we are maintaining a OS page table. It is a guest operating system page table there. So we are maintaining the page table, and whatever the privileges you are giving. For example, I made a call to take the privilege of accessing one file. Before there is no accessing of that file, what it will do, it will check for the privilege whether I have the ability to access that one. If I am changing or not, like that it will change. So first it will look after all these things and will provide ability to access that file. So if you are providing to ability to access that file, we need to update our page table. Means what it is doing, that is the request what you are raised has been updated. Like this we need to update that one. So first in this hypercall only we have the three different aspects. What is a hypercall? The hypercall is from domain to the hypervisor. So what is a domain here? The domain can be specified as a group of computers or any devices which has been connected on a network, which has have the common rules only. Means if you are having sharing one environment. For example, if a program, if a system has the ability to share file, if your system is having the privilege to access a file, then the other systems will have the ability to access that file. Means common rules will be there. Common rules means everything will be common thing. Means there is no any refraction, or there is no any diffraction between the systems what you are using. All are having the same privileges, all are having the same accesses, same memory spaces accessing, and then same network interfaces. All these things will be same. So here the domain what we are using will be specified as a group of the devices which are connected to the networks. And what is the thing here affecting it is, should have the same environment for each and every device what it has been connected. And then next one, the third one here is the page table. So what is the page table here is, likewise you are having an operating system, it is also maintaining the page table here. It is used for, I said the mapping will be done, virtual mapping will be done. So to map these virtual memory system into an operating system, what you have to do is nothing but they should provide these page table here. So what this page table will do is, this will provide the mapping between the virtual addresses and the physical addresses we are having. That is virtual operating system what you are using, that is a guest operating system what you are using, and the physical machine host operating system what you are using. There could be some mapping between them. For that we are using the page table. After that we are having the fourth one, kernel. So what is a kernel? You know, that is a central part of your operating system what you are using. And what is the thing it is doing here is, it is allowing the things to be done. That is a task to be executed, process to be executed. It will schedule that one, and it also allows the user to take care of these resources sharing also. And then next allow the CPU time, and then next memory spaces. All these things will come into the kernel. And apart from these, we are having another one. So in that one, the first one is a microkernel. In this microkernel, we will have the only basic functions. So micro means that is a very minute one. Minute one means it won't have that much functions to enact. So what it is doing, it will take care of the actions which has been done by the kernel. That is, you can say it is a subset of kernel, not the all the things what you are having. So only it is taking only the basic functions what you are specifying there. So what could be the basic functions means memory providing, processor scheduling, and then next any thing can be specified here. So here what you have to doing is nothing but here the operating system what you are running will not run on the microkernel here, because the operating system, it won't have the operating system. It will be supported by the operating system, but it won't have its own operating system, because it's a minute functions. It is designed to take care of the minute functions only. If you are giving the privilege to access or to privilege to operate the operating system, what it is doing is it won't have that much capability to that one. So what it is eventually it is decreasing or the slowing its process. So for that one, what the basic functions we are going to do will be done by the microkernel only, but it is not the ability to access to maintain its own operating system. It will take the operating system support there. And then next one is a monolithic kernel. So here what it is doing is what you have to do is nothing but we need to means this is also what you are needing. It will be part of the kernel, but it is has the capability. They increase the size of the kernel there. So here how you going to provide that is if you are having any memory, processors, device drivers, all these things will be considered. They will be gradually increasing in size. Means it is a part of the kernel only, but it is what it is having is it is having the capability of increase in size. Means it is taking the privilege to access the more functions when you are compared with the microkernel, if you compare both these things. So here microkernel is having only basic, that is a memory access, and then next process scheduling only. When you compare this monolithic, what it is doing, it is divided, it access the device drivers, processors, memory spaces, scheduling, and then next some operations will be performed by this one. So here it will take into the account, but what could be the disadvantage here is there is a rise of the some faulty programs will be there. This faulty programs what has been occurred will damage this kernel, and also it will means decrease the performance of the kernel, which is the monolithic one. And also and the next one here is the software trap. So you know the trap. The trap means it's a fault or a thing what it has been stopped your execution. So what is a software trap here is it can be an exception or a fault which has been occurred as a when it is when we are considered as a synchronous interrupt which has been caused by the exceptional condition. Is what could be the exceptions means you well know divide by zero. If you are reached the breakpoint, invalid memory access, all these things will be considered as a trap here. When your trap, when a trap is serious or when a trap is normal means, if you consider right to access a user process and it's not there, means you want to access a process, you want to execute a task and the program is not there, means that should be considered as a serious one. So these are the things, so these are the aspects we need to specify or we need to consider when you are dealing with that one. And then next one here is the Xen architecture. So what is a Xen means? It is an open source hypervised program which has been developed by the Cambridge University, which is a microkernel hypervisor, but it has what it is using is when you are compared with these microkernel, it has some benefits also. So when you look after these diagram, we are having multiple things into an account. So this using all these things to be done or to be handled by the domain zero. If you see this diagram, there is a notation called the domain zero here. So here the domain zero means the main function, the system what you are using here. So here there are no any device drivers. If you see, there are no any device drivers. What this domain is doing? It is having the control on the IO, and also it have the control on the memory spaces what it is having, and also having the IO devices, but it is not maintaining any device drivers here. Who is looking after all these things? Thereafter underneath we are having hardware drivers. So in this we are having the hypervisor. So the domain 0 means the main system. Xeno Linux means the guest operating system, which is having the Linux operating system. Here the guest operating system, which is having the Windows operating system. So based on your environment, you will decide to execute, or you will decide to maintain all these things into account. So here what could be, what is the Xen is doing? It will provide a virtual environment which will be located between the hardware and the operating system. So here like this. So it is having the hardware device, the operating system. Here it is acts as a interface between them, and also allows to access the core components of this one, that is kernel, hypervisor, and then applications, and then hardware devices. What it is having, it is allows to do all these things. So what are the Xen hypervisors we are using here is Citrix Xen Server and the Oracle Virtual Machine. What are the things they are using? Xen hypervisors. So this is an example. In this example, we see how it is going to process here. So the first operating system has the control ability, which is the domain 0, and the other ones what you are having, that is a Xeno Linux or the Xeno Windows, will be called as a domain U. So here the first domain 0 will be loaded, and these whatever the system boots, and then next access to the higher hardware, directly accessing, and then allocation of these resources will be done by the domain 0 to the domain U. Domain U means these two. Yeah, these two will be coming to account. So what are the security level it will be provided? Here is a C2 is the security level it is using to process all these things. And what could be the privileges? Here is means you can access, you can specify that you can have the capability or the ability to create and then copy or the save, modify or the share resources of the virtual machines what it is having. So what is the main disadvantage here is, if this one is hacked, then there is a possibility of hacking all these things, and there is a possibility of accessing all these things, because these won't have their own that is what we say, they don't have own control, because the control what it is having will be done by the domain 0 only. So if you're having main thing into your an account, what it is doing, it is will be taken other things into specification and allows to take care of these things, that is a Xeno Linux, any virtual machines. If you're having 100 virtual machines under this domain 0, that is it will the hacker will have the ability to access all these things. So to overcome all these things, what you have to do, you have to take care of the security problems to overcome this hacker possibility or the accessing possibility here. So for these type of actions, what you have to do is nothing but we need to take this security into an account when we specify Xen architecture as a virtual machines here. So that's about today class. Tomorrow I will explain the binary translations with full virtualization and also para virtualizations here. So that's up to the today's class. Thank you.